A school bell rang, echoing down the long, crowded hallway of Crestwood High, a place where dreams were supposed to grow but where shadows of cruelty often lingered. Among the hundreds of students rushing to their classes, there was one girl who always walked with her head slightly down, her books hugged close to her chest, and her steps calculated to avoid drawing too much attention. Her name was Elara Hayes, a quiet, intelligent girl with piercing eyes that often hid behind a curtain of messy hair. She was not the kind who sought popularity or recognition. She found solace in silence, in books, in the sanctuary of her own mind. But in the cruel ecosystem of high school, being different often meant being targeted. For months, a group of 3 notorious bullies, Leela, Cassie, and Marin, had made Elara's life unbearable. They mocked her clothes, her reserved nature, her refusal to conform. They thrived on humiliating her, believing that their cruelty somehow made them powerful. The worst moment came one rainy afternoon when Elara was changing in the girls' locker room after gym class. She thought she was alone, but the bullies barged in, laughing wickedly, their voices bouncing off the cold tiled walls. They snatched her clothes, made vile comments, and even filmed snippets of her humiliation on their phones. Elara's heart pounded, her face burned with shame, and though she held back her tears in front of them, inside she shattered into a million pieces. That night, lying on her bed with her fists clenched tight, she promised herself one thing: this would not end with her broken. No, she would rise, not through brute force but with intelligence, with patience, and with a plan so calculated that the bullies would regret ever crossing her. She began her quiet revenge, not with anger, but with observation. She studied them, learned their patterns, their weaknesses, their desires. Cassie was obsessed with social media validation. Her life revolved around likes and comments. Leela was terrified of her father finding out about her reckless behavior outside of school. Marin, though tough on the outside, had insecurities about her grades and feared losing her scholarship. Elara kept notes, collecting details like puzzle pieces, waiting for the right moment. Weeks passed, and the bullies continued their antics, but Elara no longer flinched the way she once did. They thought she had given up, that she had accepted her fate. Little did they know she was building her fortress, brick by brick. The turning point came during the school's annual charity event, where Cassie, eager to boost her image, volunteered to be in charge of the social media live stream. Elara hacked into the stream's settings with skills she had secretly developed through endless nights of teaching herself coding. When Cassie went live, thinking she was broadcasting her perfectly filtered version of events, Elara flipped the switch. Instead of curated smiles, the entire school, and later, the entire internet, saw behind-the-scenes clips of Cassie mocking disabled students, gossiping about her so-called friends, and ridiculing teachers. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Cassie's carefully constructed online empire crumbled in hours. But Elara didn't stop there. She slipped evidence of Leela's wild weekend parties, complete with underage drinking and dangerous stunts, into an anonymous envelope that made its way to her father's office. The strict man who held Leela on a tight leash exploded with rage, grounding her indefinitely, stripping away her privileges and even forcing her into counseling. Marin's undoing was quieter but no less effective. Elara anonymously tipped off the academic committee about plagiarism in Marin's essays, providing undeniable proof. Marin's scholarship was suspended pending investigation, her reputation as the smart one shattered in front of her peers. Each strike was precise, targeted, and devastating, but Elara made sure her fingerprints were invisible. She was a ghost in their downfall, a shadow they couldn't trace. And while chaos consumed the bullies, Elara walked the halls with a newfound quiet confidence, her head finally lifted. She wasn't cruel. She didn't attack them physically or scream in their faces. Instead, she let their own flaws, secrets, and hypocrisy destroy them. By the end of the semester, whispers filled the corridors. Cassie had deleted all her accounts, Leela barely showed her face in public, and Marin was on the brink of transferring to another school to escape the shame. Elara had won, not just for herself, but for every quiet kid who had ever been targeted, for every victim who had been too afraid to speak up. She became a symbol, though most never knew it was her who pulled the strings. And in the privacy of her room, she smiled for the first time in months, whispering to herself, "Justice doesn't need fists, it just needs patience." Viewers, if you've made it this far, remember, strength comes in many forms. Sometimes, the quietest person in the room has the loudest victory. And if you want more powerful stories like Elara's journey, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon, and share this story with someone who needs inspiration. Because together, we can turn pain into power and silence into strength.